Well, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Avatar Face to Face, a community-based organization based out of Mount Vernon, New York, that services all communities within the Westchester and communities beyond. Today we have a fantastic show that is part of our series, our 22-part series, as we begin to address the issues of art and culture in the community and those elements that impact on the community within the concept of our presentation for our year-long celebration that the Avatar Foundation and Offbeat Culture Organization have collaborated and combined their efforts to present to the community and the world at large. So today we have two guests, two very prominent young ladies who serve different roles in the community, but really all have a singular goal in terms of the transformation of people, the transformation of our cultures, and we're going to have a nice little discussion in terms of their roles and what they've been able to do. To my immediate left is a young lady by the name of Miss Hyacinth Bloomfield, who is a community activist, who is really involved with the churches and the social environment within the communities as it relates to the Caribbean and probably Jamaica specifically. And we also have Miss Dunbar, who is an educator and a sociologist and a criminologist and a person of many hats and many kinds of flavors, if you will. So good afternoon, ladies. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. Bloomfield, Hyacinth, if you don't mind if I call you that, give us a little background, a little brief background in terms of your background. Who is Hyacinth Bloomfield?
Hyacinth Bloomfield is a proud Jamaican, proud to be Jamaican. I advocate for my country, for the well-being of our natives here in the U.S. and in Jamaica in a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much involved with my church, assist with things around the Jamaican consulate as our church services, yearly celebrations, and other community involvements.
Okay. So what we'll talk about, Ms. Dunbar, give us a little snapshot about who you are and what your level of involvement is. Then we'll get a little deeper into what we do.
I happen to be an American first generation of Grenadian and Jamaican parents. So it's a small island, big island. And depending on who you ask, the Jamaican says, no, she's Jamaican. The Grenadian's going to say she's Grenadian. So I belong to both of them.
You belong to the world.
Belong to the world. Happen to be born in the U.S., the first generation. Educated here. Involved in the political, the religious, the social, and of course the educational areas. And I've had quite an exciting life. I've done a lot of things. After the death of my mother, I started a scholarship fund in her name because she helped others unconditionally. She was always helping folk back home. To come and to be educated and to educate the folk and to those that were there to make sure that they got all that they were supposed to get. And education was the number one thing that she said, whatever's in your mind, no one can take it away from you.
Right.
And you must always be educated because you must always be a notch above. And that was instilled breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between.
Sound like a very strong lady.
Very, very much so.
What is the name of the scholarship? So people will know.
I started a foundation called the Adela Clark Joseph Multi-Service Foundation.
Give it to us again.
Adela Clark Joseph Multi-Service Foundation, Inc.
Okay.
And that was the name of that.
Where is it based?
Well, it's based in Browns County. It is based in Browns County, and I can give the phone number, which will be on not on that business card, but I can give the phone number at the end.
Okay.
And where folk can
reach for more information. Okay. So, let's talk about your role with the churches, your roles with providing services, and how that may tie into what our overall goal is in terms of celebration of the independence, particularly for Jamaica and for Trinidad.
The church yearly, there's the Independence Anniversary Service,
Yes.
which is hosted by the Jamaican Consulate, and I am pretty much involved with the putting together the formation of that service, along with the Consul General. We've been having those services since Jamaica became independent. The first service was held at the Cathedral of St. John Divine.
Yes.
And we moved from there up to 155th Street to the
Intercession?
intercession.
Okay.
And we were there for many years. Remember those?
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sure.
my dear.
We were there for many, many years.
Yes.
And it has grown where we now have an independent choir, which is led by Lloyd Chung, Dr. Lloyd Chung. And we are now moving through the boroughs because we feel that many of our people, the elder people, might not be able to motor in or take the train or the buses into Manhattan. So for the past many years, we've been going to Brooklyn, to the Bronx, Queens, and back to Manhattan.
So these services that you speak of just kind of done independently in different boroughs.
Yes.
But the main theme and direction is what?
Is a coming together of our natives that's given them a chance of, there might be many who are unable to attend, for instance, a dance, a ball, but they look forward to attending the church service.
Okay.
And it's a really flavored service in that it encompasses all the religious aspect. It's not just an Episcopalian church service or a Catholic. It's economical, so it encompasses everybody. And there's a lot of participation, good music.
Good food, I'm sure.
Good food, I'm sure. Yes,
Yes,
the reception afterwards.
Right.
And there's a message that comes in from the Prime Minister. And we have quite a lot of other people that attend from the other consulates.
That's creating an event in 4 or 5 different boroughs, and so that's got to be kind of taxing. There's a committee that you work with?
There is a committee which is headed by the Consul General, whoever is in office that time, and it's a lot of work, but it's good work. It's giving back to our country, really realizing our background, our roots, not forgetting, and for those children who were born here from Jamaican parentage, opening up to them. This is what we are. This is what we do. And really coming together of our people.
Well, coming to you, Ms. Dunbar, kind of segueing into that in terms of from an educational perspective. You know, you've served in a number of capacities. You know, I'd be interested in hearing from you in terms of what you see as a cultural change or cultural impact is more the word when you have people coming from the island and adjusting to the U.S. way of doing business and how life is done here.
Well, Miss Bloomfield, Miss Hyacinth took me back years, and she was talking, and from my experience when I grew up, it was a West Indian community made up of all the islands, and people helped each other. When people worked and they came home at Wednesday, you would go to so-and-so's house for dinner or the next one's house for dinner. And here again, the core was, you're in this country, we have our children here, and they must learn the ways of this country, and they must take advantage of everything that this country has and bring others behind. Whoever's at home and whoever wants to come, or in many cases they didn't have the choice whether they wanted to or not, that I'm sending for you so you can be a part of this country. And that's kind of missing now. I was just talking to Miss Hyacinth about when we had our houses. Each benevolent association had its house on 110th Street in Harlem or 125th Street or wherever it was. And those people worked very hard. First wave in the 1920s, 24. Just think of it. Think of America in the 1920s and hear these people coming. And it's cultural shock, but they know that there's power and strength. You see, and one single mindset.
That's right.
One single mindset, not you from there and me from here and there, but we're joined, united to do what we can for ourselves, our children, who would be the first generation, and those back home. And so that has been my driving force to make people realize it is a country of milk and honey, you know.
Okay, you say it.
I say it, and I believe it because here is a country where you don't have to be a king or a queen or a landed person to be educated.
Right.
Free.
That's right.
And now, today, breakfast, dinner, lunch, and 2 snacks in the schoolhouse. See, if my people didn't have the money, then I didn't eat breakfast, so that was our problem then. So all of this stuff, people must learn to take advantage of.
I see. Okay.
It's lacking, and we now have to reach back and don't get comfortable.
Right.
Don't get comfortable. We've slackened
There's
up a bit.
Still a lot of work to do.
A whole lot of work to do.
Right.
And so those that are still back home, and those that are here that think they have arrived, we have a duty to say, you have not arrived. Because there's that ceiling.
That's right.
Okay? And you may have scratched it, but you haven't broken it.
Right. It's interesting you say that because, it's we speak of the land of milk and honey, and we see all of the problems that exist within our society, both politically and both from a police state kind of situation.
Absolutely.
And it becomes almost a little different picture from those of us who maybe were born here and have not had the experience of living outside of the country and in different environments. So that when you speak of the milk and honey, it's a reminder to all people that it's whatever faults and ills we have. This is still one of the better countries and the places to live on the planet.
Oh, yes.
Because of opportunities and things that are available to people if you want to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
So as you were saying that, it just kind of dovetailed into a thought process. I come out of the civil rights movement. And,
likewise.
and part of one of the mottos that we had is each one teach one. And
Each one reach one.
And that process was, yes, and as one began to progress, we had to reach back.
Absolutely.
And grab someone and take them with us. So as we progressed up the ladder of success or whatever we were doing for achievement purposes, the whole idea was to reach back and bring somebody. And the whole idea also in terms of don't get comfortable. There's a lot of power and information in that statement because we take things for granted.
Yes.
You wake up, the sun is shining, you got heat, you got hot water, and everything is just okay. But it isn't that way as you begin to expand what our community represents. And we show up in all different parts of the world.
Yes,
a lot of those advantages are not there. This kind of drift back a little bit then, Hyacinth, in terms of the kinds of services that you provide for other people. We talked about the independence aspect of it. Are there other kinds of programs, other kinds of initiatives that you're involved with, or your organization is involved with, for the Caribbean community?
Yes. For instance, there is a Progressive League, and we
Yes,
spoke
we
about
spoke
that
about that,
earlier.
yes,
In
we
the
did.
early days, it seemed as everyone that came into New York, the only organization that was really standing out there was the Progressive League. So we all tended
That's
to gravitate to it, and they were really there to help. Apart from the political view, we are not into the political situation, to help the people back home. There are times when we would meet, very often too, and to think back home where the need rests. It could be in the hospitals where people are in need of supplies. It could be in the schools where there are schools that are in need of stuff. And we would pack barrels of
Oh, yes.
things for the schools.
Yes.
We would make things for the hospitals. We would actually go out and buy material and make linens to send into the hospitals. And that's done not only through that one organization, but other areas. Private individuals, like myself and others, would formulate ourselves in a group, and we would take on the responsibility of sending things, again, to the schools, to the hospitals, or even to private individuals that we know are in need.
I see. Okay. Does that league still exist? I mean, is there?
It still
still
exists.
exists.
It's still in, but there are now many other organizations that are involved
Right.
in the same
Yes,
type of program.
Yes.
And we join with them and become a part when there is a need for something
Right.
that they call on us and or on individuals, and we give our assistance as best we can.
So each one teach one again,
Each
right?
one teach one again.
Yeah, reach out to each one. Okay. Since Ms. Dunbar, you've been into the U.S. political scene.
Oh, yes.
So you get a chance to see some things also from a different perspective. You know, as we address the issue of independence, you know, for a country like Jamaica and for Trinidad, and really we're acknowledging all of the Caribbean basins. We're just kind of highlighting those that have
two.
reached a benchmark of 50 years, because there's a number of islands that they're not quite 50, but have done a lot of different things in reaching their independence. Within what you've seen here in New York, from an independence point of view, kind of give me a little analogy of the pro and con of that. You know, you see independence happening, and you've worked in that system, and you've seen also where there wasn't independence, or there was the formation of independence. You know, just give me a little analogy of the pro and con of that.
Well, in terms of the pros, there are many, quote, what we would call third world countries, which I don't like that, third world and undeveloped, because in many instances they're more developed than some of the things we do here. Not talking against my country. But we can learn from these other countries, especially those in the Caribbean basin. They have a lot of programs that we need to take a look at in terms of education. And I said, wow, they're doing that? And we're saying, well, we have to go and show them. I mean, they're showing you some things, but sometimes you are so arrogant, use the word arrogant, that those people know, and they know a hell of a lot, excuse my English. The flip side, many of our students, when they come, they get lost because everybody wants to be Americanized. And people slip through the cracks, you know, when you forget that foundation. See, I had that on my back morning, noon, and night. And you had not mom and dad, but you had auntie. And, you know, one didn't do, the other one did, and all that. That is the piece that's missing now.
The concept of the village, huh?
Thank you. And Alma John was one of my mentors.
Absolutely.
Dr. Mary Huff Diggs, first tenured African American professor at Hunter.
Okay.
Okay, so now I can go down the list, but those two women who said, and I became a social worker because of Mary Huff Diggs. She said, you have an obligation. You were put here to do something, and you're going to do it. And I didn't need those two to tell me because I had it from back home and all the way around, and all the aunties and uncles that I had. That village concept is what's, even though we have our organizations and they're doing, that's the little gap that we need to tighten up now. People came here and, I mean, just literally sacrifice for you. Not to come here and sit cute and talk about you getting welfare. What kind of foolishness is this? You know, no. And this is the mentality that people fall into. You know, I'm going there. And no. So that is a piece that I think we need to tighten up and keep our foot on next. I mean, the situation here has changed because we don't want to be accused of child abuse or this, that, and all the other stuff.
Right.
But I remember a mother saying to a judge, well, I tell you what, since I can't chastise him, it's your responsibility, so I'll bring him here for you to take care of him. That didn't sit very well, but
sure
anyway, it didn't, but that's, you know.
Okay. Well, you know, it's interesting to hear this kind of dialogue and to know that behind all of the real bright lights, that there are people like yourselves who are taking on either individual tasks and goals or part of organizations, doing things to help people kind of come together. And it ties in really to the mission of what the Avatar Foundation is, as well as the Afwe. This is how we kind of compared our missions and found that there was a common ground that included, number one, inclusion. Not exclusion, but inclusion. And our effort was to bring different cultures together, to be able to understand the essence of the culture. So if we want to know one another, learn one another, meet one another, we need to understand our rites, rituals, and traditions. You know, so we're gonna talk that talk and find out where everybody's coming from, taste the food, listen to the music, and have a better sense of a balance about where people are coming from. And we come to find out that as many differences as there appear to be, everybody's the same. It's a very common ground. So it was important for us to kind of come together and look at how we can take a look at the Caribbean art and culture and do that through the eyes of Carnival. You see, so it meets our mission from an art and culture perspective, which is what we are, but be able to allow us, you know, to delve deeply into the cultures that we're looking to highlight in this celebration. And you two ladies really bring a whole bright light to that, because it's, you know, we're dealing with all of the elements, the food, the music, and it takes us